Welcome, everyone. Department and Agencies Subcommittee is now in session. It's Wednesday, February 21st, in hearing room 2 at 9 a.m. Lisa, please take roll.
Bricken, Carringer, Chisholm, Haston, Littleton, Chairman Kiesling, Chairman Holsclaw.
Present.
Chairman Holsclaw, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any personal orders? Seeing none, we'll get right into the calendar. And ladies and gentlemen, as far as an example role model of the way to dress is this young man that's getting ready to present this bill, HJR 841. He's definitely a role model of mine.
Well, thank you, Chairman. I think I appreciate that.
We have a motion second. Y'all over jacking them jaws, ain't you? Well, look, the bow tie, the hair.
It's always something. Thank you, Chairman. House Joint Resolution 841 was the work from Putnam County Schools, and I have been working for several years. As you may know, in the charitable gaming space, we have a bill every year that allows the exception through the Secretary of State's office to allow for charitable gaming across the state. What we found in Putnam County is sometimes school board members, school board directors, and many of us will go to a fundraiser for a sports program or the theater or something in our local communities. And there's a portion of those who don't follow the statute, quite frankly, because they don't know that they're supposed to file an amendment to that bill to allow for charitable gaming. And so what happens is you end up, depends on the community, you end up with more than half of the number of charitable events that they have are not technically legal, and the district attorney's office could cite them as it relates to that because of that. What this bill seeks to do is to change the Constitution to allow through this joint resolution, change the Constitution to allow for school systems only to be able to have these type of events in our communities across the state. And that way it would be an exception to the Constitution where lotteries are currently excluded, but it would have to be affiliated with the school system. School Board Association and my local school board member, Ms. Cravens, have worked on this for a couple of years. We feel like this might be the best way for us to do that. Not that it's an impunization on the Secretary of State's office. He's doing a fantastic job. It's just very difficult for us to communicate with people about their cakewalk or their chili supper or whatever like that for their schools as they raise money. But that's what this bill does. I'm happy to answer any questions that members might have.
So Trey's all on board with this?
His office has worked hand in hand with us. There are some challenges sometimes as it relates to language, but we've been working through those as we get those. Obviously this, because it's a constitutional amendment, it will have to go to finance and put on the constitutional calendar there if it finds favor here. And so we have plenty of time if there's any issues that do arise that we can modify it if necessary.
Is there any issue with where the funding goes now? I mean, does the schools get it all when they do it, or?
Yeah, good question, Chairman. What happens now is the Secretary of State's office, they have to fill out the form, and then there's an audit process for those that do that, which is good. But that process would not occur for these school-based systems or charitable gaming events for schools, but it would still be the structure for all other ones. If like veteran services groups or people like that, they would still go to the Secretary of State's in order to do their charitable gaming. This is only for schools.
Okay. Members? Ms. Littleton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for bringing this, because everywhere you go, you hear raffle, 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 and you just start cringing. So, and I realize that they don't know and are unaware. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Everybody else still asleep this morning? Mr. Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sponsor, when the school board folks came by my office and talked about this. I had a couple of questions that dealt with, one dealt with private schools. How would they be affected or not if, based on this constitutional amendment? So I'll stop there and ask that question.
Thank you,
Your-
Chairman. Yeah, thank you, Chairman. It says that it would, that the Constitution is amended only for officially recognized boards of education, which would be our state school board system. They wouldn't be private schools.
So private schools could not have chance fundraisers.
That's correct.
Okay. Then in my neighborhood or schools, there's a lot of booster clubs. Some of them are 501c type organizations. Some are not. Some of them just are affiliated with the school. So, but if you were an official 501c whatever, you would be currently limited to the one chance gaming authorized by the Secretary of State. Would this supplant that so that school affiliated organization could have multiple gaming chances, or would they still be limited?
Your recognized.
Thank you. The intent of the legislation is for it still to only be preserved as one per event. So you could have one for theater, one for baseball, one for football in that school, individual school in that school system. That's the intent of it. Once again, I don't think it speaks to the specifics of the number of times. I think we were using that as a basis for the discussion, but it doesn't specifically state that it's one time.
I mean, so if it should pass, I mean, the LEAs would authorize the baseball booster club to have whatever chance event they might choose to have more than once or as many times as they choose to do. Maybe I'm not, if I phrase that right. Or it's just, would the LEAs just say you could do it once a year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe the based upon look at the language, it's mute on the total. I'm happy to revise that if that be the case. But the intent of the sponsor is that it would be one, but it's one per entity, not one per school system. So, for instance, in Putnam County, we have one school system. We have 26 schools, and consequently, we have 15 course groups. If 2 course groups might want to do it, and 2 theater groups might want to do it, and 2 football teams might want to do it, and so to say that it would just be one would not work for that school system. But the intent is it is one per entity in each entity which desires to in each school system.
Last question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bingo. Bingo would be allowed here if this would
One
pass.
time.
One time. All right. Thank you.
Other questions? Call for the question. Without objection, we are voting on HJR 841. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? You're moving on, young man.
Thank you, Chairman and members.
Next up. Beg your pardon? We have an individual that's out of order, that has a personal order. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My youngest daughter just walked in, Elizabeth Littleton. I'd like for y'all all to make her welcome. She's with the Realtors on the Hill today. Thank you.
This is her favorite committee, by the way, if you want to know. We're moving on to item number 2, which is HB 2124 by Grills. Got a motion? So you're no amendment, so you're properly before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you were referencing Chairman Williams' haircut and his attire. Do you have anything to say about mine?
You're a cleanly shaven man.
Fantastic. Thank you. I am trying to change one word in the Tennessee Code, and we're going to change the word authorized to shall. And what we're doing is to clarify that all law enforcement, including sheriff's departments and police departments, are required to fully cooperate and to communicate with the Department of Homeland Security, including reporting that a person is present in the U.S. illegally. And what we have had is we've had some police or some sheriff's departments that have not, they have been authorized to communicate with the feds about the status of a person that they have come in contact with, but they have not necessarily exercised that. So what we're trying to do is force them to reach out to the feds to let them know that they have a person in their custody that is not here legally.
So in your personal opinion, why do you feel that that doesn't take place?
I don't know. I've never been in that position, Mr. Chairman. If I were in that position, I would reach out to ICE and let them know that we have people here illegally.
Okay. Ms. Carringer, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to thank Chairman Grills for bringing this bill. I had very, very close dear friends just a few years ago who lost their child to a illegal immigrant on Chapman Highway there in South Knoxville. He and his girlfriend were coming. It was right after Christmas, and the illegal immigrant was driving and crossed over the line there and hit him head on and killed Pierce Corcoran. His daddy was with the city fire department there in Knoxville, and I grew up with them. And he had been living, I believe, in Oak Ridge for quite some time. And anyway, very, very tragic. And I believe Knox County is the only county, I think, at this time, because right after that accident and all, Knox County took on some serious, our sheriff's office took on dealing with illegal immigrants and with ICE because we were retaining several of them there in our county. So I was told that Knox County was kind of the only county doing that right now. So I want to thank you for bringing this, and I also want to tell you that I'm going to be a co-sponsor on this because I have personally been touched by this, and there are several other families that we all know that have gone through this. So, we all pay our insurance, we have our driver's license, and I expect everyone that is living here in the state of Tennessee to obey the law. So thank you for bringing it, and I'll be sponsoring it.
Any other members? Mr. Chisholm, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. So did local law enforcement ask for this piece of legislation, or any locals ask for it?
The way that I
Bill?
come in contact with this piece of legislation, Representative Chisholm, is we were on a conference call one day with Senator Taylor and we were talking about some of these things. And this was actually given to me by Senator Taylor. And he was the one who was the architect behind writing this bill. But the passion I had for illegal immigration and seeing what illegal immigration and the border crisis has done to Interstate 40 from Memphis to Jackson and my county up in Dyer and Lake and Obion, and the fentanyl that's coming up through there, the sex trafficking that's going on, the interdiction forces that are out there and working so hard to try to combat that. We need to have everybody in Tennessee on deck fighting illegal immigration. And when they come in contact with people who are not supposed to be here legally, they reach out to the proper authorities and get them back. So that's how this bill come about, Representative Chisholm.
Mr. Chisholm?
So what do you see as the extra? How much of an extra burden would this be on law enforcement opposed to right now?
Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know that it would be any more of a burden for them just to reach out, and that's part of their job. They are to reach out to the proper authorities and let them know that what they have come in contact with someone who's breaking the law. And it's my understanding that law enforcement are there to enforce the laws.
Michelle Carringer, you are recognized.
So, I mean, just to let you know the situations that I've heard about and I know about in Knox County. So this gentleman was arrested because he was driving a vehicle with no driver's license, no insurance or anything, and we are housing them in our Knox County jail. And so ICE was called to come, and because we as taxpayers were paying for them, and they were illegally here in our state. So ICE was called in to take this gentleman back to where he was supposed to be. So we were paying for him to be here, and he was here illegal, to house him and all while he was waiting for court and all.
Any other comments? Mary's called for the question. Without objection, we're voting on 2124. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? You're moving on. You can be recorded as a no if you would
Thank
like.
you, Mr. Chairman, committee.
Which brings us to item number 3, HAR 810 by Barrett. We have a motion. Second. We do have an amendment on it. And what amendment code do you have there, Mr. Barrett?
Mr. Chairman, I have drafting code 013425.
That is
And it does
correct.
rewrite the resolution.
So we got a motion and a second on the amendment. Second. So you're probably before us, and tell us what you got.
Well, before I get too far into this, Mr. Chairman, just want to acknowledge that I'm somewhere in between the evolution chart on the haircuts.
We
between the first two.
noticed that it was kind of,
I'm heading toward the ladder pretty quick.
well, we can go ahead and make that permanent if you want. We can shave it.
I'd like to delay that as much as possible
all right.
if we can.
Go ahead.
So HJR 810 was originally drafted and filed to acknowledge the state General Assembly's support of Texas and Governor Abbott in his effort to defend the border. Ended up having to amend the resolution to acknowledge the activities that transpired in between the time that it was originally filed, with Governor Lee going to the border and agreeing to send more troops. So this resolution, as amended, acknowledges Governor Lee's support and urges him to continue to do so.
Very, very well. Any questions, comments? I'd like to sign on to that too, by the way. She's a professional question caller over there. The question's been called, so we are voting on the amendment 013425. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed? So the bill's properly before us now. We have additional questions, comments? Call for the question, so we're voting on HGR 810. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? You're moving on. You can be recorded as a no. You're a no all the time, Jesse.
He's just disagreeable. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Which brings us to the last and the best item on the, which is HB 2263 by Darby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. And we have an amendment on that.
Yes, we do have a untimely amendment, but being it's just a technical thing, we're going to try
Yes,
to
sir.
adopt that. And we have a motion and a second, and your number that you have.
Zero 014171.
You got it. So let's hear what you got.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2263 looks to proactively prevent issues hunters in other states are facing by stating clearly in Tennessee statute that hunting and fishing are conservation and are the preferred methods of wildlife management. Further, this bill will require the appointees to the Fish and Wildlife Commission to be active participants in the activities regulated by the TWRA.
We need to put that on. Okay, let us get this bill in a proper posture. Let's Let's vote on the amendment, get it on the bill, and then we can vote on the bill. Have a motion, a second, and we're voting on 14171. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? So your amendment's on the bill. And we do also have an individual in the audience that's willing to talk on this. Is that correct?
I haven't heard that, Chairman.
He's willing to, he's just not asking.
Mr. Horace Tipton is here if needed.
I would like to hear from him if possible. Let's
Yes,
go out of session. State your name and who you're with for the record.
Morning. My name's Horace Tipton. I'm with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. First, I want to thank Representative Darby for bringing the bill. Tennessee Wildlife Federation, we are a conservation organization that advocates for conservation and for sportsmen around the state. We're very proud to support this bill. What it does, like Representative Darby said, is prevent some of those actions that we're seeing in other states, particularly in some of the western states where they're trying to restrict access to hunting and fishing. Hunting and fishing is an important part of who we are as Tennesseans. It's an important part of conservation. Hunters and anglers provide significant funding for conservation, not just in Tennessee, but around the country. It's a significant piece of that. So we think it's worth preserving that access to hunting and fishing that we have right now for the future. Obviously, this General Assembly and the current Fish and Wildlife Commission and TWA are not in a place where they're looking to restrict those things, but this is a forward-looking bill. So,
What I actually like about the bill, it says it requires the appointees to the Fish and Wildlife Commission to participate in activities. So they have to get involved and understand.
that's right. Yes, sir. And I
which
think,
go ahead.
well, most of our commissioners right now, I think all of our commissioners right now are actively involved, but in places like Washington, I talked with some counterparts over there. They're in a very different place where they've had anti-hunters and animal rights types come onto the commission and change the mission of that commission. And that's what that is aimed at. So,
Does any members have any questions, comments? We appreciate your
Yes, sir.
statement, and
thank you.
we'll go back into session. And would you like to add anything to?
No, sir, I stand for questions.
Question has been called by Ms. Questioner. So we are voting on HB 2263. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? You're good to go, young man.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
And it looks like that's the completion of our calendar. Does anyone have any personal orders? Motion to adjourn. Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, guys.